To fully appreciate the power of a barbel, you must catch one on float tackle. Multiple rods and heavy swim feeders may catch more fish, but it's a detached way of taming such a noble quarry. Sadly, it's much rarer to see anyone using a float to catch barbel. But is it really that difficult? The answer might surprise you.
Well, don't let anybody say we don't take on difficult challenges when we make Caught in the Act. This is the tidal River Trent and it's currently carrying maybe 3 feet of extra water. But in the past few weeks I would have been beneath the water. The water level has been above my head. So in terms of catching fish, conditions are good. Most people would come here and actually ledger, but I have been set the challenge of float fishing. Now let me show you what I'm going to do. Straight away I'm going in with a bait dropper. I cannot loose feed here, the water's too fast, but if I can get a better bait down on the bottom, there's still a chance I'll catch on the float. So let's see how I go on. I'm going to be using hemp, which I brought about half a gallon or 6 pints of hemp, and I've got a gallon of maggots. And I'm going to bait heavily because a lot of this bait will just be swept away on the current. So get some bait in. There's no one below us here, nobody's fishing it at the moment, it's simply because of the conditions, so I've got a long way to draw fish, so plenty of bait, and then let's see how we go on. Right, I'm filling this dropper at the moment just with hemp, and I'm going to put about 12-15 droppers of hemp just to get a bed down. The one thing that's going to be a little bit tricky today is that normally this swim's probably 8 or 9 feet deep, and now it's getting on towards the 11 and 12. So, letting it down, letting it down, letting it down. Just touch the bottom there. Because of the rocks, I can't let it settle for too long. Otherwise I'm going to end up with the bait dropper in the rocks. But I'm just going to try and keep it as not too tight. I'm spreading it over an area because it is going to get washed off downstream, but it's there to give a scent trail. But the important thing is I'm putting the actual hemp downstream of me. There, it's hit the bottom. The maggots I will introduce higher up the swim. But the hemp is quite heavier and will stick in the gravel down there in between the rocks. Okay, one more hemp and then we'll put some maggot in.
Maggots are lighter than hemp, so Bob introduces them higher up the swim. After this initial baiting, he'll rest the swim for half an hour while he prepares his float tackle.
Well, we've allowed the bait to settle now. It's probably had half an hour, 40 minutes. And it's time to have a little explore of the swim. I'm not expecting instant results because I've got to find where the fish may sit in the swim, where the snags are, if there are any depressions, and the only way you're going to do that is to feel your way into it. So let's see how we get on. The sun's very bright. As you can see, I've had to put my visor on and it's warming up. Clear blue, and what a day to catch fish on. With the 6 gram float I'm able to just hold back. I can actually stop that float if I want in midstream and let it run. It's surprising that people think that you've got to slow a bait down to catch a barbel. It's amazing how they lift up off the bottom and intercept maggots passing by at the speed of the current. Oh, this is a fish. Oh. This feels like what we came for. Very important to have a sensitive drag on your reel. I have this drag set now so as it It will actually give line if I let my finger off the spool, because small hook, big fish shakes its head and the hook pops out. I can see the float now just coming to the surface. So that has the makings of a moderate barbel. Oh, those anglers who only ever use ledgering tactics to catch barbel really don't know what they're missing. Powerful. And the fish is right at my feet in this fast water. It's not a big fish, but there it goes. What I need is this fish to come upstream and let me then get it, lose the current. There we have a River Trent float caught barbel. But there you go. There's the maggot bait just in the corner of the mouth. Flick it out. Small, but perfectly formed. Don't get much better. Now let's go and get your grandma, hey? Let's slip you back. There we go. These are about as difficult a condition as you can get away with float fishing for barbel on the Trent. Certainly the tidal Trent. It's so important to keep the bait going in. Well, we've just had our first fish and things have gone a little bit quiet. So I've put some bait in and it's a good time now to rest the swim and run you through the tackle I'm using today. What I've got is a 13-foot match rod. It's a typical rod that's been developed for commercial carp waters, and it's made to balance with lines from £3 to £10. It's a power waggler rod. That is a very forgiving action, and so you're not going to break off on the strike, and it's progressive, so the bigger the fish you get, the more of the rod comes into play. I've got a top quality reel, which is the TDR, and that's loaded with 8-pound line. It's low diameter line because normal diameter line had come off in curls, so you've not got a lot of stretch, but the rod's going to forgive you for that. So let's get down to the business end. Here we go. This is a bit big for what we've normally used in the Trent in the good old days of roach and skimmers. This is a 6-gram Dave Harrell float. It's made for big waters, it's got a big bulbous top and it allows you to drag some line on the bottom. I've got 3 rubbers on it. I've got one at the top, one just under there, and that isn't there for any other reason except to keep the line in profile with the float. And then as you see with the bottom rubber, it overlaps by about 2 centimetres the bottom of the float. That means your line's not going to get caught on it. It just makes everything simpler. Working down, and I'm currently fishing in something like 12 feet of water, I've got a bulk of AA shots. They take the float right down to the tip. Beneath that I've got a BB and a number 4. And you might think that's rather crude. Well, yeah, it is. If you were using, a small stick float. Everything's in proportion. Down there, it's fast water, it's boily. I need something that's going to get the hook bait down. Below the shot, I've got a 6-pound hook link. Now I'm playing about with where the position of the bottom shots are, but that shot can be anything from 3 to 4 inches away from the hook to maybe a foot, 15 inches. And these will be balanced accordingly, in proportion. And beyond that, I've got a size 14 hook, which is an wide gape barbless hook, and it's a very strong hook for its size. And to be fair, when a hook gets into a barbel, it generally stays there. If a fish comes off, it's usually a chub or a bream, and that is it in effect. And as you've seen, we're baiting using a bait dropper. Don't even think about loose feeding because your feed will go anywhere. Get the bait down there on a dining table area and then let it trickle off downstream, pulling fish towards you but always having an area where they can find a good amount of food. And it's as simple as that. Don't skimp on the bait. This is not a method for skimping. I brought a gallon of maggots and I brought half a gallon of hemp. And if it was a really good day, I would be disappointed if I wasn't going home with 2 empty bait buckets. So anyway, I want to get back to the fishing now. So let's go. Baiting up, I'm generally using either 2 or I'm using 3 maggots, and it's simple as this. You put a red one on that way, a white one. Sometimes I'll put the white one on upside down, followed by another red one here, and then they sit together better then rather than one sticking out at right angles. The thing you have to understand about fishing a tidal river is that the depth isn't constant, and nor is the flow. And twice a day the tide comes in and the river level rises. We've got a tide due today about midday, so we're expecting the river to rise. Even while we've been stood here, we've been here maybe an hour and it's dropped a foot. And of course, as it drops, it gets faster. When the tide comes in, the tide will slow the river down. You know, it'll be easier to fish, because this is not easy fishing at the moment. And then immediately it starts to run off, it will speed up again and the water level will drop. So you're constantly working. But the beauty of it is, fish can switch on or switch off. And you might be having a bad day and suddenly, on the turn of the tide, you just have a red letter day. There's no way of predicting it. Everyone seems to have their own theory about the best time to fish. My favourite is just on the run-off, but I've had brilliant days when it's been lifting. You see there, the cast is quite a simple underarm lob. It's important to make sure the float runs through just in the same area that you've been baiting with the bait dropper. Yes. The tide is just on the turn, which today I think will just slow the river slightly. I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference. The river might come up 6 inches or so, but it might be the time the fish switch on. Oh, he's on a proper run. This is why we come and float fish. It's just spectacular action. The beauty of these rods is there's a lot of power in the bottom section. Oh, that fish is going downstream. He's going. Oh, here he comes. It's a coming. Whoa. He says, no, I don't think so, Bob. Away! Wow! Wow! Well, that is a barbel that has fought incredibly well. The problem I've got now is getting the fish into the net, because come to me, yes, we have got it. Yes, with an aching arm. Oh, this fish isn't. Now that is the best fight I have ever had in my life from a barbel. There's your tidal Trent barbel. It's long, it's lean, a typical fighting machine. Spectacular fight on the float tackle, and just goes to show you don't only catch small fish on float tackle. Right, we've had a good enough look at this. Let's get it straight back in the river. There we go. One last look before she goes back. What a fantastic float caught barbel. So let's see how she goes. Come on. Oh, it's just kicking away. There she goes.
Despite the bright sunny conditions, Bob continues catching barbel, ending with more than a dozen fish before his bait runs out.
Wow. Don't think there's any doubt what this is. There we go. Another beauty from the tidal Trent. Still got attitude. It's having none of it. By heck. Slow down. There we go. Straight into the net. And that's how it's done. That. I'm not bothered about size. It's the method sometimes. You've got to try this. Yep, that's he's singing to me, that one. Tidal river fish. I think they're fitter and faster and more brutal than any other barbel. It just decided it's going the other way. Oh. Look at that. Another cracking barbel on the float. And if every session finished with a fish like this one, that wouldn't get any better. Let's get her back. Come on, babe.